I'm joined now by Hugh Dugan from New York. He's a visiting scholar at Seton University School of Diplomacy. He is a former U.S. diplomat and advisor to 11 U.S. ambassadors to the UN. You just heard our reporting from Jessica Stone, Mike Pompeo meeting with reporters, rather testy exchange. Reporters trying to press him on the specifics in this agreement. Already, as you know, there's analysis that's been pretty negative. Andrei Lankov, who's said to be an expert on the DPRK, is quoted as saying, "We expected it would be a flop, but it's floppier than anything we expected." He called the declaration pretty much meaningless. Are these experts being too harsh, do you think?
Oh, I believe they are. I mean, we had a remarkable event that captured the entire world's attention. I mean, the G7 fallout quickly dissipated as soon as Trump landed in Singapore. And so I think just the mere meeting, of course, was a big plus for the entire world. The United States, I think, was prepared to just say, hello, how are you? And if that's all it took, that would have been a big success as well. Because these last several months have enabled the United States to get a remarkable photo into the Kim regime, to understand much more what's happening there. So the human intelligence aspect of this exercise alone has been a great benefit, not just to the U.S., but to the rest of the world. We've seen, in diplomatic terms, a Cold War turning into what I call a cold warmth.
Yeah, but the question is, what's the advantage to having just a skeletal document? I mean, as Raphael Wober was saying, it's only 3 pages. Of course, President Trump's been very critical of the JCPOA, the Iran deal. That's 159, and it's very specific.
Well, I think it was a pleasant surprise that a document was produced. I don't think any of us really expected to have them sit down with pens and actually exchange documents. So that visual was a very powerful thing to have happen. The document itself, of course, is a little ambiguous in UN terms. When we negotiate resolutions, we hope for a bit of sufficient ambiguity in those resolutions for their interpretation, creative interpretation if necessary thereafter. But it is a beginning, and it shows a goodwill effort on both parts. I think we need to recall that President Trump said that whatever real agreement was to be struck would definitely need to go to the U.S. Senate and be finalized in a treaty format, which I think is a very encouraging thing, which the JCPOA and several other Obama executive orders didn't bother to do.
Pompeo in South Korea, he'll be going to Beijing. What does he need to tell the folks in Seoul, in Beijing, in Tokyo?
Well, first of all, gratitude to all of them. I think in China in particular, though, I think they're a bit more worried than they're letting on about developments, about this cold warmth that I described earlier. They are seeing more of a presence, perhaps, of the U.S. and other influences in their backyard. And they must be feeling a bit threatened, I would have to say, in their attempts at global hegemony when somebody is actually exercising a hegemony of sorts right next door to them. So I think that relationship, that discussion with China is going to be rather sensitive.
Hugh, you've heard in the past when it comes to the DPRK that they're good on words, not so good on deeds. Where does the real movement need to be, and what do you see as real tangible steps?
I think we've seen plenty for now. The fact that we've all come together since the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, are what broke this ice, and we're seeing that go forward more quickly than ever. I believe that Kim is interested in showing progress, giving this president what he needs to show that there is actual concrete movement. Kim can work with Trump. I don't think he feels he could have worked with any other president before, and probably not after Trump leaves. So I think Kim needs to make this work for us so that Trump remains in office, going in front of the midterm elections, so that he can depend upon Trump having a strong hand on the Hill when it comes time to getting treaty ratification going forward, and then these many steps of implementation that will indeed take more than the remaining 2.5 years of this Trump administration.
How long will it take?
Well, there's no real timeline. We've all lived on this earth together for thousands of years. And so not to say that we shouldn't have something in mind, but what's workable, what keeps us engaged at the table, I think that's what's valuable to note. Perhaps it's just the optics of cooperation, but cooperation nonetheless. We're not talking war, we're not amassing. We're in fact offering to withdraw from those military exercises. And I don't think that's a sign of weakness either. I think it says that the United States, frankly, doesn't need those to be able to assert and protect and project its power in that region. It has many other means to do so. So I think walking away from those military exercises may have been more of a favor to South Korea than we realize.
Hugh Dugan, thanks so much for joining us from New York.